Bună seara! Continuăm cu programul atelierului din această săptămână, din cadrul cursului de artă contemporană și curatoriat. Și astăzi vom auzi două prezentări cu participarea Clarei Abdullah, activist de mediu, și a lui Bermet Burbaeva, artistă și activistă. Vom începe cu prezentarea The Junk Food Revolution Against the Food Waste și vom continua cu prezentarea Biopolitics and the Political Economy of Food Production, ambele înscriindu-se în următoarele circa o oră și jumătate, 2 ore. Pentru întrebări, vă rugăm să le înscrieți în scris, să ne le transmiteți în scris, fie în comentarii prin programul Jitsi, fie prin YouTube. Vă mulțumim!
Нету в трансляции звука.
What? Da, I can say something. Yes? So, I forgot where I was. So yeah, it was also about if the guard is there, and just the attitude of how relaxed the owner is about this, and how relaxed the people in the neighborhood are about it. As far as shops and cafes, I didn't try so much. I just went to the places where I'm a regular customer, and from what I've talked to other people, this is the element of familiarity is usually the recipe for success. Like if you try this in a shop where you already they know you visually for years, that you're from the neighborhood, you might have a better chance. And also more openness, of course, from the workers there to tell you what's really happening. So in one famous sweet shop, let's say, in Chișinău, where I know that some people did pretty good dumpster diving, the worker from the franchise in my neighborhood said that they come once a week, they collect everything, and they smash it and throw it to their trash bin next to the main headquarters. But when I asked officially, like to the management, they said they completely got rid of the food waste problems because they just make cakes by order, so they have a fixed number, and what they have without dairy or eggs just goes to the freezer like infinity. I mean, for a really long time, so they don't have this issue. Another from a very famous cafe shop in Chișinău again, they said that everything gets collected at the end of the week from all franchises, and then it gets burned directly. And this was quite fascinating because, first of all, incineration of waste is illegal in Chișinău, and secondly, the kind of infrastructure you would need to burn so much food regularly is pretty astonishing, unless they're turning it into biogas or something, which I am really doubting. So my relationship with food salvaging from established places really was more around dumpster diving. From what I've talked to my friends, if you really like just from one chain of supermarkets, which is I won't name, but everyone knows it as the paradise of dumpster diving in Chișinău, because in other chains maybe they're more strict about it, or another one I know sells ready to expire or ready to go bad product, sells to staff, to employees for a very, very big discount. But in this particular chain, it all really goes to trash. And I think if you're dedicated to it and you go there daily, you know how to prepare food, you can freeze it, you can easily feed 10 people from it. And I know people who did it during the pandemic out of necessity, because they were really struggling financially, and this was a great help. And I think this group really approached the management at some point of the chain of supermarkets to try to organize a regular thing as a group, come and take the products. And there was some openness, but they couldn't establish a system where daily they could go and do this in an organized way. So this is about dumpster diving. About the food waste aspect itself, because there's a lot of perspectives and a lot of reasons why people do dumpster diving or try to rescue food. Like I said, of course, there's a very big difference of when you do it out of necessity because you need to feed yourself, or when you do it because you can and just want to cut costs, or maybe you do it out of principle. And this is one big ethical debate, I think, around this practice, because it kind of got hyped and adopted into mainstream by pretty privileged middle class people who are maybe representing some movement. But in its nature, it's something done by people who don't have an alternative. And I remember in my hometown in Romania, there was also a supermarket who just put products on the side of the trash bin. And me and my mom, of course, jumped on them because it's there and it's free. And my stepdad, who's from England, was totally appalled. And he said, "No, but that's not for you. You can't understand. They're not there for you. You have food in your home. Why you take it?" And he wasn't wrong, but it was hard to explain that we also kind of want to, as long as the food gets eaten instead of being thrown out, it's already doing your part for the better. But there is definitely the classist aspect, and there's also a lot of debate around the meat and the dairy component of it, because of course a lot of food waste debate goes around meat because it's very resource heavy to produce meat. So there's a bit of encouragement that if you're doing dumpster diving and veganism out of environmental principles, you should also do your best to avoid the animal products to have the full package. But if true, this also comes from a privileged perspective where you really have the luxury to choose what you can eat, what you want to eat. Other people who really do it because they want to support themselves. For them, it's a lot of effort, and it's very mentally exhausting to plan also a vegan diet or to try to get nutrients from what you're getting just without meat and dairy. But actually, on this movement also about dumpster diving in Chișinău, there's rarely meat products getting thrown out. Usually they tend to be returned to the producers. There are some dairy products who usually are taken by homeless people a lot. Lots and lots of bread every time that also gets taken, and a lot of fresh produce, meaning fruits and vegetables, that tend to get left there. So like I said, it's a good practice if you do this to first leave the people who really need it to take it, or if it's hard to time, just don't take everything there. But for example, if you do it a few times and you establish a pattern, and you know that the bread and the dairy are more valuable to the people in need, you can leave it there and really focus on fruits and vegetables. And actually, fruits and veggies are a great victim of food waste in general because of the cosmetic aspect. There's a lot of high beauty standards for our food in society, but when it comes to fresh produce, somehow it permeated the collective mentality even more. So a lot of them don't even get picked from the farms because they look undesirable, or they get picked and then they get discarded, or the shops don't put them out, or they don't even get bought. So it's a whole vicious circle of why this ugly fruits and vegetables becomes waste very fast. Yes, and just very quick about the environmental aspect of it. Of course, food waste in general is something to be avoided, but with food waste, it goes a bit further because I think we don't have the full, we don't grasp the full amplitude of what goes into agriculture and animal growing, because just to grow the fresh ingredients that go into food, there's so much water wasted. I mean, there's so much water invested in it that becomes water wasted when we throw it out. I think it was something like 125 liters of water just to have one apple. And for animals, the numbers go even higher, like 15,000 liters for 1 kilo of beef. So all of that gets wasted as soon as we throw out food that could still be eaten. And then there's the whole issue of transporting them and the diesel that gets burned, because I don't know, I don't think everyone goes for local seasonal foods all the time. So there's also that. And then once the food actually goes into the landfills and starts to rot, it just becomes a source of methane. And the methane is a greenhouse gas that captures heat, I think, 5 times more than carbon dioxide. So all in all, the carbon footprint of food waste is really high. And I think in general, the vegan movement was adopted by eco-activists, who is kind of a rejection against mainstream environmentalism, because now a lot of the environmental activism tends to focus on, you have to consume the right products, the green products, and you're doing your part and everything will be okay. Just buy a Prius, just buy an eco bag and a bamboo toothbrush, and you're good. But actually, this kind of discourse overlooks a lot of the resources that goes into making these products, and that the whole process of making something involves a lot of impact on the environment. So with veganism and food rescuing, it's a way of really going at the root and reevaluating what you see as trash and what could still have some life. So I think more or less I would be done for now, unless there are questions. But I think not. Not, huh? Okay.
What was the result of the research you did online
On the groups?
Yes.
You saw me spamming all the groups? Yeah, a lot of no, it was actually in two polar opposite sides. The people who said, well, there's no one throws out food in Moldova. What you mean? They even changed the date and put it back on the shelf. They even leave the fruit rotting there in the supermarket for weeks. And then there was the others, like, yeah, there's a lot of thrown food out. I see with my own eyes every day at this trash bin, or my brother's cousin's friend works in the supermarket, and he tells me, and his heart is aching. And there was a lot of, I think for a lot of people, it was the revelation that there's also this extra step taken after food is thrown out to try to annihilate any chance that it's used. So all this chlorine and țărână stuff, they were really appalled. But yeah, and a lot of the answers kind of had the same chain of supermarkets reported. We will not, but everyone knows. I think. Yeah, so it was pretty interesting, like research. I don't know if it made people think more about it. There was also a lot of people Moldovans, but who live abroad now, and they made comparisons, and they all lived in these countries, heavens of legislation to prevent any sort of waste. So, of course, everyone's asking when this will happen in our case as well, when this will come in Moldova. Well, Moldova's trying something now. I mean, there's the law against food waste that was proposed already for public discussions last year in March. And it's being made by the Ministry of Economy and Infrastructure, which is so interesting because in Romania, it was made by the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, and it would kind of has some logic in my head. And now I think it's still going on. The food bank people who visited today, they were also involved in the public consultations. It's proposing, it's proposing a lot of improvements that stimulate economic agents to donate these products. Not only stimulate, I mean, there's the stimulation part with the fiscal benefits, which is also quite controversial because actually you can't just say we'll give you fiscal benefits and they happen. This has to go through fiscal code, and any modifications to fiscal code need to be done by the parliament. So that part's not really thought through, but I guess it sounds nice to say. So, and maybe they will find a mechanism. And there will also be fines to punish those who throw out food instead of donating it. And the law also has some modifications about what constitutes food that needs to go to trash. What constitutes bad food? Like for non-perishables, like flour, vinegar, all this stuff that has sugar, that has an expiration date because it's mandated. It would maybe not be the case even, like not even have an expiration date, or to say on it that 30 days after the expiration date, they're still good to eat. There's a lot of uncertainty around the law because it seems like it could be very fertile for corruption, that the services that would be intermediaries between the shops and the beneficiaries would come from this circle of nepotism and companies owned by politicians, or they would be used in electoral political campaigns as stimulants, because there were already a few cases where the foods offered to people, like election packages, then expired the day after, so they were like recovered from shops probably in this way. But it's something that's at least being done at a law level. So let's see. Actually, in Moldova, the estimation, there's like very few statistics, studies about food waste, but the Ecologist Association put it at something around 5% of food being wasted, which is, I mean, if you look at it objectively, it's far from a calamity. But again, hard to say where this number comes from, how it was calculated. But at the social level, of course, it's a problem, and the fact that people perceive it. All these videos are shared of bread being thrown out, and from my little research on Facebook, it's something that somehow affects people. And so definitely it should have a better structure around it. And I remember after one of this first bread in trash cans videos circulated, I think several people called the agency for safety, food safety agency, and they sent some agents to investigate, but they even admitted that they can't do anything to the people to the shop they threw it out. So it was more like theater performance to show that you shouldn't do it, that someone will come and like slap your wrist, but there's no mechanism saying what should happen punitively to those people. So this is kind of the problem with the law now, that it's in a purgatory of you shouldn't do it, but yeah, I don't know what else you should do, but you shouldn't do this, definitely. So I kind of sympathize, or I'm not so quick to point the finger also at shops and who are reluctant to donate it because they don't know what's gonna happen to them. So yeah. Mine? Personally? Well, this workshop, this whole workshop is already one step further in trying to do something organized and something that gives back further. With dumpster diving and salvage food, there's always the element of I mean, of course, we're careful with the food, and we use common sense to see if it's really trash or something can be done with it. But you never know if someone will get sick. So, and even here in Art Labyrinth, they had a kitchen, a vegetarian kitchen, where they often used such salvage products. And I thought that the Art Labyrinth group and vibe and contingent is so clear that no one would have any issue with this. Like, they understand the process behind it and they're totally okay with it. But they said that even here, like maybe 50% of the people not so into it, and like we're I don't know what I'm eating now, and you got it from trash. So so I would like to do it with a very limited small group who all understand what they're getting into, and in first really understand what is our human capacity, like a group without cars who just can do this in their spare time. What is the capacity to collect, to salvage food? How ambitious can we be with it? How much can we store it? How many people can we feed? and then to try and do something more from here. But I would really like also to be able to reach something in attitudes of people, because like I said, it seems that everyone understands that food thrown in trash bins is really bad, but I think people when they're in supermarkets also still try to buy only the good looking shiny fruits and veggies. They still complain if the shelf is not super full with products, like, oh, this shop is so shitty, they never have anything and the shelves are empty. And then the supply and demand comes into action and they fill all the shelves and then they need to throw it out. So I would also like to maybe hit that spot a bit more. I don't know if through campaigning or just through raising awareness through concrete actions. And also about food waste in individual level, because all of this was about what happens externally outside of myself at a large scale. But I think it has a lot to do also with what we consider trash, how people understand to even read the expiration dates, how invested they are in expiration dates, or how we shop. All of this, definitely, I would like it to go further. But let's see. For now, I'm really excited to have more people joining on the topic. And I'm also, through this research for the workshop, I found there's a lot of dumpster diving going on in Chișinău, and I connected to a lot of the people who do it. And it's really interesting to hear the experiences. And like I said, some do it really out of necessity, even though you, like, maybe if you met them, you wouldn't think of them as the people who need to go to the trash can to feed themselves. And this is why I'm not so close to the argument that you need to leave all this food for homeless, because I think it's a very standardized way to look at poverty, and it can take many shapes, and someone who has a home isn't necessarily blessed financially. So yeah, it would be really cool. And maybe some connection between me and the people who do it by themselves, and the little group. There was a little group from the Baha'i church who actually approached the management in some supermarket shops and said that they're ready to do it regularly, to collect all this food and feed some bigger group. But and there was like I said before, there wasn't a no, there was a yes, a soft yes that could have maybe become a stronger yes, but then the group themselves lacked the capacity to do it. So this is why I'm saying I wouldn't want to be super ambitious and get on the white horse of yeah, I'll do it all, I'll start saving, because I really want to understand what's really humanly possible to do. And I would also like to connect directly to farmers and understand what's their take on food waste. I know the food bank people were saying that they also made a call not only with retailers but also with these local producers. Even went on these Facebook groups that are now booming since the pandemic with support your local producers, and a lot of them are really farmers from villages. And no one was interested. I mean, no one responded in any way. It may be from a good perspective that they don't have any waste, and they find a way to really utilize everything. And in the village, maybe the possibility to make compost or feed it to animals or just give it to someone who needs it is really more wide. That's one version, the happy version. The other version is that they're even more far removed from this concept of food salvaging, that you don't sell it, but you just give it to someone else, just like this, for them to use it. So I'm sad that I didn't manage to get any connection. I even tried for this workshop. So I would very much like to go in that direction more as well. So unless there's a questions you have.
I mean, I don't know, it's more like understanding the topic deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that last, like hiding food waste is last step in this kind of problematic ecological issue? Because you mentioned that something is produced,
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of resources, water. You didn't mention, for example, pesticides.
Да. GMO. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, where is it more effective to fight actually the beginning of this process or
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Well, what do I want to say? The root of the process is really dictated by supply and demand. I mean, if people want a lot of food fast, the processes will adapt to it to provide it and not lose profit. So if it's much faster, if people want a lot of potatoes on their shelves, and it's faster to kill Colorado bugs with pesticides and get the potatoes quicker to people, that will happen. So, of course, responsible consumption should be able to influence this process. Meaning, going back to this ugly fruit and vegetables, if they start to be bought more, then the suppliers will understand that they can start not leave it on the field, but take it to the shops and they will sell it. If people start requesting more organic products, or they see that they're selling more, then they will try to find more and sell. If there's not so much meat bought, because like I said, livestock and meat production is so has a huge carbon footprint. So in theory, the less meat you buy, the less will be needed to be produced and livestock to be grown, and thus the environment will also be less burdened. But yeah, definitely veganism and this dumpster diving was born also like reaction to capitalism and consumerism. But it's also a byproduct of it. Like without this system, there wouldn't be the possibility to dumpster dive. There wouldn't be such foods wasted because of consumption habits and because of regulations in large-scale commercialism. So I think, yeah, definitely it's good to try and influence how you buy food, how food is produced, what food gets in your supermarket. But at the end of the day, food will also be always be made, and food will always be thrown out. So I think it makes equal sense to try to prevent food waste, as much as trying to go deep at the cause of it. So I think that's it.